Macro photography is my passion, but I really enjoy photographing birds and wildlife. But unfortunately, a bird lens is not usually very good for macro. I shoot on the Canon EOS R7. It has a crop sensor that is 22 millimeters wide. I believe most Canon crop sensors are the same 22 millimeters. This means in order to achieve true one-to-one macro, I need the scene to be 22 millimeters or less in width. At 400 millimeters, the Canon RF 100 to 400 can capture a scene approximately 52 millimeters wide with a working distance of several feet. Now if we attach the Raynox 250 lens to the end of the Canon RF 100 to 400 and set it to 100 millimeters, we will get a scene approximately 26 millimeters wide, which is very close to true one-to-one macro. The working distance is approximately 95 to 100 millimeters or 3 3/4 to 4 inches. Although the depth of field will be a little bit shallower with the Raynox attached than you would see from the Canon RF 100 millimeter f2.8 macro, which obviously is going to outperform this no matter what you do. At 200 millimeters, the scene is now 15 millimeters wide. That's greater than one-to-one. The working distance remains 95 millimeters to 100 millimeters or 3 3/4 to 4 inches. At this point, it is getting difficult to get handheld shots with a focal length this long. At 300 millimeters, the scene is just 10 millimeters wide. That's better than 2-to-1 macro or 2x. The working distance remains the same, but it's getting nearly impossible to get any shots in focus by hand. At 400 millimeters, the scene is just 7 millimeters wide. That's 3x macro. That's 3-to-1 macro. Amazing magnification. Absolutely impossible to shoot handheld. The working distance remains the same as previously stated. At this point, you definitely need a tripod. If you're going to do handheld macro with this lens, I absolutely recommend flash, or any lens for that matter. I like the Godox V350. It's my go-to. It's a nice small size. There are smaller ones, but they're a lot underpowered compared to this one. And there are much bigger ones, but they make camera top heavy. They're big, they're bulky, they get in the way, and they're not fun to do macro with. You'll also need a diffuser of some sort, or the flash is going to cause terrible highlights on your subjects. This is my preferred type of diffuser. I plan on getting something more high-end eventually, but they're pretty expensive when you get the real high-end ones. This just simply slips on the end of the lens, and just try and find a position, which is not easy, between the focus ring and the control ring if you use the control ring. I use the control ring for ISO, and it sits on your lens like this. And then when the flash hits it, it redirects that light diffused down onto the subject, soft in front of your lens. These are really cheap. They're only $7 to $15 depending on where you buy it and what brand you get. I'm pretty sure they're all basically the same. Some have different size elastics, so check that. This one barely fits on my lens. In case you were wondering, this is how the lens clips on. Just that simple, and you're ready to go. Your flash or speed light will come with one of these. Don't use it. They're terrible for diffusing. And if your light is coming from back here on the camera, you're going to get a shadow from your lens. That's why the other thing redirects that light into the front. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a shadow of your lens on your subject, and it'll be all bright around it, and your subject will be all dark, and you'll have a bunch of ruined pictures. I would really consider using a tripod for anything over 135 millimeters for stability. Like I said, you can get some photos at 200 millimeters, but I did not get very good results. I'll show you here. I absolutely recommend that if your camera is capable of doing focus stacking and you want to go over 135 millimeters on this lens, you definitely should try focus stacking your subjects. You'll get much better depth of field, much sharper images, it'll be much more impressive, and you'll be able to actually tell what you're looking at better. Because at 400 millimeters, the amount of area that's in focus at any given time is like a sliver the size of a hair. It's not much. If I have a sample, I'll show it here. This is powder fine sand focus stacked at 400 millimeters using the Canon RF 100 to 400 millimeters and the Raynox lens. Because the glass is a little soft at 400 millimeters, the Raynox amplifies that, so it's not the sharpest focus stack, but you kind of get the idea here of the kind of magnification you're capable of achieving, which is really quite impressive at 3x. It's important to note too that this lens will never be as sharp as the Canon 100 millimeter f2.8 macro. That is an L series lens with premium glass. This lens has really good autofocus capabilities. In fact, it has the premium autofocus motors in it, but but it does not have the premium L glass. If it did, it would cost $2,000 more, I'm sure. And make sure you have image stabilization turned on if you're shooting handheld. If you're shooting on a tripod, turn it off, because any wind moving things in the background trick your image stabilizer into thinking that it's being moved, and then it will blur your image. I've even had it go insane and start vibrating my whole camera. So make sure you turn it off if you're on a tripod. I believe that is it. If you have any questions, please ask them in the comments. Have a wonderful day.